In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create pixel stretch effect in 3 different styles. So let's get started. As you saw in the intro, we are going to make 3 different effects, and here are the timestamps if you just want to watch one particular effect and don't want to watch the entire video. But if you're a beginner, I highly recommend that you watch the entire thing, or at least start from the beginning, because in the first example I'm also going to show you how to remove the background, which is very important step in this effect. Plus some advice for selecting your photos. If you look at my examples, every photo has some kind of motion inside. A person is running, doing yoga, jumping on a skateboard. Because pixel stretch is kind of an energetic effect, or at least it's related to movement. So I highly recommend that you select a photo with some kind of activity inside, rather than a photo where someone is just sitting on a chair or standing straight. As you can see on the screen, this is the final output. This is what we will create. To do that, first of all, you need to open your photo. And for that, go to File and select Open. And here select any photo that you want to apply the effect on. So hit Open again. Now first, obviously we need to remove the background. And for that, we need to unlock the layer. You can just double click here on your background layer. The pop-up will come up and just hit OK. Once you unlock your background, you can go and select your selection tool. So you can right click and select quick selection. Generally, you should use pen tool, but if you're a beginner, it's better to use this one. Now to apply the selection, when your tool is selected, hold down your left click and just paint on the person. Just drag your cursor around and it should do its job. So do your best to make a rough selection. And if there is like a little bit of inside or outside, we can fix that later. So let's just make the basic selection. Looking alright. Now we need to fix some things. For example, if you zoom in, the ears are not selected. For that, when it's on the plus, you can easily just add any of the selection. So I'm just gonna go and start clicking. You always don't have to drag it. You can just do simple clicks and it will do its job. And you can add whatever the selection that you missed out. And also there might be a situation where you want to remove the selection. So you can zoom in here. Also you can use Control plus or Control minus to zoom in and zoom out. So there's that, or Command for Mac. So this time I'm going to select my minus option and then click in the center here, and it will remove selection from that part. But it removed too much. So I'm going to go and select plus and then fix it. So this way, just keep doing plus minus and finish the selection. Once you are happy with your selection, you can apply the layer mask. For that, go and click on this third icon and it will apply the mask. Now before, we need to fix some things. As you can see, the edges, they don't look particularly very good. So we need to fix that. But before we do that, we need to apply a background so we can see things properly. For that, click on this icon here and then select a solid color. And I'm gonna use a nice bright yellow color, which goes with well with the energy of the photo. So this looks nice. Then hit OK and put it under your model so we can see the model. Looking good. Now let's make the edges a little bit smoother. For that, you can activate your layer mask, then right click and select and mask. Here, first of all, make things a little bit smoother on the edges, and then increase the feather a little bit more than you think. You should be like, oh, that's too much. So perfect. And then increase your contrast. So as you can see, it's already looking a little bit better. Now if I go and click on the original, as you can see, the edges are much more softer and smoother. You can play around this slider, take your time and make it really nice and perfect, and then hit OK. So the most boring part of this effect is done. Now let's do the fun things, the actual pixel stretching. For that, we need to activate the original photo here, not the mask, but the photo, right? Done. Good. After that, select your marquee tool. So right click here and a rectangular marquee one. Okay, so rectangular marquee tool. Now we need to make a straight selection of the model. So if I do the entire model at once, it doesn't look good. We are not getting a really nice selection. The entire leg is missing, which is not good. And if I try to make a selection from here, as you can see, it's just missing out a lot of empty area, which is also we don't want. So for that, I'm gonna go and divide the photo into parts, not literally, but just in selection. So make sure the marquee tool is active, and first let's do the top part. Make sure you don't select outside the photo, by the way. So go and make the selection something like this. Until this point, okay, looks nice. After that, do a right click and select layer via copy. At first it will seem like nothing happened, but if I turn off the original layer, you can see that we made a copy of that portion. So this layer is completely okay, but we made another copy of that small selection, which is exactly what we want. Now I'm gonna stretch it, but before I stretch, I wanna make the canvas bigger so we have more space to play around, and that's pretty easy. Just select your crop tool and then you can stretch it out. So I'm gonna keep it somewhere around here and hit enter. And because we have a solid color, it will fill itself automatically. Don't worry about it. Now let's stretch it out. So make sure the layer is active that you wanna stretch, then press Command T or Control T and then stretch it out as much as you can. If it goes a little bit outside, it's okay for this effect. So then go and hit enter, and looking pretty good. Now let's turn on the model. Let's put the stretch under the model so we can see how it looks. Okay, already looking pretty good. Now let's do the stretching of the bottom part, but problem is that if you do the same thing with the bottom, select your marquee tool and try to make a selection, we are missing a lot of portion, which we don't want. Easy fix, just change your tool. Right click here and select a polygon lasso tool, and it allows you to make a custom selection. So you can just zoom in a little bit, good, and then go and just do click and it will make lines like this, and you can make a selection from it. So make another click here, and once you are at the end, do a double click, like a little bit slowly, and it will make it a selection. By the way, if something's wrong with this tool and it's not working, you can press Ctrl Z or try pressing your delete or backspace key and it should fix it. So the selection is ready, looking good. Now just like the last time, make sure the model layer is active because we are going to make copy from here. So I'm gonna again right click and select a layer via copy, and now as you can see, we have a copy. So I'm gonna hide the model again so we can focus on the small piece properly. Make sure layer 2 is active, right? Then press Command T to bring up your selection tool. Now don't stretch it directly. If you do that, it just doesn't work because it's on an angle. So before you do that, rotate your piece and try to do your best. It doesn't have to be 100%, but do your best to make it straight, and then hit enter. Now press Command T again, and this time you should be able to stretch it. Not very good, but there should be a stretch. This is good enough. Hit enter. I know, looks terrible, right? We can fix it. So now we will make another copy of this. So select your rectangular marquee tool and make a selection, something like this. Then right click and layer via copy. So we made a copy of the stretch. Now we can delete layer 2. You don't need it. We just need this small piece. Then press Command T. Oh wait, wrong layer. See, this is what happens when you don't select your layers properly. So make sure that this layer is active that you want to stretch. So press Command T, and this time you should be able to stretch it really nice. And then hit enter. Looking good. Let's turn on the model and put this under the model. Oops. Looking good. Now we can merge this layer pretty much if you want. So this layer and this layer, let's make it one. So hold your Command key and click on both of them. Once they are active, press Command E and it will turn it into a one single layer, and there you have it, your stretch. Now you can play around with it. So first thing I want to do is skew it. So press Command T again, then right click and select skew. So skew, basically it allows you to stretch out things like this, and then let's make it stretch out a little bit from here as well. Looking good. Hit enter. Now we have some missing area here, as you can see. We can fix that. Just again press Command T and you should be able to stretch it out just like that, and hit enter, and there you go. Now we have to remove this excess area that we don't need. Generally I recommend using layer mask, but if you're a beginner you can use eraser. So right click on your eraser tool from here, make sure the layer is active, and then you can just erase it out. If it's too soft, right click and increase the hardness, and then you can erase the portions that you don't need, and you pretty much have your effect. Now it's a little bit underexposed, and every time you do the pixel stretch you will have to do some corrections in the color. So make sure the top layer is active. Good. Now go to your adjustment layers, and first I'm gonna select curves, this one, and in the curves make a dot in the center. Don't put it up or down, maybe a little bit up, that's okay, but just make a dot in the center, do a click, and then drag this point up like this. Okay, now you can make it a little bit brighter and see how it looks. I'm gonna zoom in a bit so you can see what's going on. So I'm gonna make it a little bit brighter and drag it up. Looking good. And if you get confused, just go to your brightness and contrast, and you can also just increase the brightness, but it's not very accurate, so I don't recommend it. But if you're confused with curves as a beginner, just do this, okay? Don't stress too much. Then now let's also make it a bit more colorful. So for that, go to your adjustments again, and this time select vibrance and increase your vibrance. So vibrance, it will make it more colorful, and also it will add little bit contrast. Just keep that in mind. So that's it, and this is the final output. If you're a beginner, I highly recommend that you try to work with this effect first rather than second or third. And now let's move on to the effect number 2. Welcome to the second effect, and if I sound a little bit different because I'm recording it literally on a different day. So this is the final effect, and here in the different document, as you can see, I already have a cutout ready, so we can directly jump on the effect. First of all, let's add a background. For that, go to your adjustment layers and select a solid color. For this one, I'm feeling a little bit like a bluish. Whatever, we can always change later. So for now, this looks okay, and put it under your model. Now let's zoom in on the model. This one, as you can see, the body is kind of making, let me create a new layer so I can explain it. So here, as you can see, it's making an L shape, something like this. So instead of making like directly, first we will make only this portion as a pixel stretch, and then we will make it this portion as a pixel stretch. Easy. Okay, let's delete this layer too. And also to like take out the pixels, like a small portions to stretch, also to take out some small portions to stretch them later. Unlike the last effect, we obviously cannot directly make a selection like this, because then we are missing portions, which is not good. And if I try to do it with the polygon lasso tool, for example, if I make a custom selection, something like this, it has way too many angles. So once I'm done with the selection, I'm gonna show you the problem with it. So if I try to do that, let's make a copy of it. So right click and select layer via copy. Select your move tool and move it on the side so we can see what's going on. Now obviously if I press Command T and try to stretch it, it's not gonna work. But problem is that even if I try to rotate it, remember like how we did in the last effect, like if I rotate it in whatever angle, it just does not work. Like no matter what you try to stretch, it just doesn't work. So delete this. There's actually a really easy fix about it. get your regular marquee tool, but instead of making an entire selection, make small selections. But before you do that, make sure that the second option is selected here. Now zoom in. Start from all the way here top. Okay, make a small selection, something like this. Okay, good. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Now I'm gonna make another selection. This selection will start where this ends. It doesn't have to be under it, but make sure like a horizon, it's on the level. So I'm gonna make another selection, something like this. Again, make sure the second option is selected so you can make multiple selections. After that, move the canvas around and I'm gonna make another selection, something like this. And also try to select all the bright portions because when you stretch them, the bright pixels look a little bit better than the darker ones. Once you're done with selection, we need to make a copy. So right click and select layer via copy. After that, get your move tool and move it on the side so we can see what's going on. So as you can see, everything is perfectly straight. Now all we have to do is align it, put them in a one single line. And for that, again, get your rectangular marquee tool, zoom in, and then select one of the piece. After that, select your move tool and then move that piece on top of this one. I don't care which piece do you move in which direction, just make sure they are all in a single line. Once you are happy with the placement, then you can go to your select and go deselect or press Command D for shortcut. And also use shortcut for this one. So select the marquee tool, make the selection. After that, you can directly press V and it will activate your move tool, and then you can just align it wherever you want. Then press Command D to remove the selection. Once everything is in a single line, press Command T to open your selection tool and stretch it out. Just enough so you can make another selection from it. This is good enough. Hit enter, confirm it. Then select your marquee tool again and make a small selection of this one. The smaller the better. Okay, looking good. Then again, right click, layer via copy. So now you can see we have a copy of that selection. We don't need this layer 2 anymore. You can delete it, whatever. And then make sure this layer is active. Then press Command T and then stretch. And there you have a really nice looking stretch. Align it with the hand, something like this, and stretch it on the outside a little bit. Confirm it. Put it under your model to have an idea how it looks. Looking really nice. Now I'm gonna do the same thing with the horizontal part. So for that, activate your model layer because that is where all the pixels are that we want to stretch. Then select your rectangular marquee tool. Now this time on we have like a little portion of skateboard that I really want to put focus on. So I'm gonna make a selection of something like this, and then I will make selection of shoe here. So as you saw, I completely missed out on the part where this shoe is and this portion of board, because I can ignore that. I need that stretch for the skateboard so it looks nice in the final product. And then just finish the selection. Also be careful, don't select anything outside the model, otherwise you will have some problems. Selection is ready. Then just like the last time, make sure the model is active, by the way. Then right click, layer via copy, select your move tool from here and you should be able to move it out. Nice. Now select your marquee tool again, select this one, press V to select your move tool, and then align it here, and then to erase the selection, Command D, so the selection is gone. then grab the marquee tool again and repeat. Once everything is aligned, just like the last time, press Command T, but this time we will pull it down to stretch it this way. So just stretch it enough so you can make another selection from it. Hit enter, looking good. Again, select your marquee tool and make a really thin, go as thin as you can. So good. Then again, right click, layer via copy. Make sure you have a really nice copy of the selection. Good. So the layer 4, we don't need it anymore. You can delete it. Activate this layer back again and then press Command T and stretch it. So I'm gonna keep this here and then this time stretch it all the way down here, something like this. My MacBook sucks, it's so slow. Hit enter. Then I'm gonna go and put it under the model to see how it looks. Pretty good. Now we will do the transformation effects to make it more attractive and fill in the gap that we created right here, as you can see. First of all, let's do the bottom one, I guess. Doesn't matter which one you do first. So press Command T, then right click. First, let's skew it, and I'm gonna stretch it out here like this, and also stretch it out here. Doesn't matter how much you stretch, and now it's just your personal preference on how you want it to look like. Then press Command T again, then this time right click and select warp. So this allows you to warp things basically. Wow, what an explanation. So warp it something like this, and also warp this one. Do whatever the hell you want, it's your effect, make it look cool. For me right now this looks okay. Confirm it. Then select this layer and again press Command T, right click, and first we skew it to fill in the gaps. So here this looks nice. I think we put little too much pixels in hand because now we have way too much skin. So things like this you will only get idea after some practice, and I still mess it up, so it happens, don't worry too much. So let's try to make it as better as possible. Looking good. Then again right click, and this time I'm gonna select warp, and then let's stretch it down here, and then I'm gonna warp it a little bit here and there and whatever. Looking decent. Now hit enter. Now let's remove the excess portion that we don't need. Let's start with this one. So here I'm gonna first move it down a little bit so it aligns with hand properly. Good. Then grab your eraser tool from here, right click, make sure hardness is 100%, and then you can erase the portions that you don't want. So let's go and erase it from here. Let's go. Okay, so looking good. Now we can focus on this layer, so activate it, and this one I'm gonna move it a little bit up so I don't have any gaps. Nice. Now get your eraser tool and then erase it, and done. So this one, I don't think this needs any color correction. Maybe I'll change the background color a little bit. That's it. It doesn't need much. This is it. And this is another way you can create pixel stretch. So this is the effect number 3, and if I sound a little bit different, again I'm recording this part on a different day and in different place. So in terms of difficulty, this one is the most complicated, and also we will be doing a lot of extra things other than pixel stretch, like adding in shadows, changing colors, and creating a simple background, things like that. So this part I won't call very beginner friendly, but you're welcome to watch anyway. It's encouraged actually. So first of all, this one you cannot directly open the photo because we need a square document, and for that you go to File and create a new document. Now for the size I'm keeping 1500 by 1500 because my MacBook sucks. You can go as big as you want, just make sure that the width and height is exactly the same. Then create your document. Now we can finally place the photo in the document. For that, go to File and select Place Embedded, and select the photo that you want to put inside. And here it is. You can make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want. So I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. Confirm it. Now, just like the previous ones, we have to remove the background, but I'm not gonna show it again because it's a waste of time and very boring. So I'm gonna remove the background with editing magic in 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! And the background is gone. Now I'm also gonna make it a little bit smaller because it's too big right now. So you can press Command T, hold your Shift and Option key and make it a bit smaller. Make it look however you want. So I think this one is good enough. Then confirm it. Let's zoom in. So to cut this one, I'm gonna go from this part to all the way to this part. Because for now it's just like a skin color and orange color from the socks, which will not look that good. So grab your marquee tool from here, and again make sure that you're on the second option here, and start making very small selections. Again, reminder, make sure you're on a photo, not the mask. So make sure you're on the photo and try to select as bright pixels as you can. So I'm gonna select this and then start selecting the brightest pixel you can, and make sure you start new selection where the previous one ends. If they overlap a little bit like this, that's okay. Just make sure there is not like a big gap in between them. That's the only thing you have to be careful. So try to select the brightest pixel on the canvas from the model and finish the selection. I think the selection looks pretty good. Now we can make a copy from it. And to do that, you right click on it and select layer via copy, this one. So if I turn off the eye of main layer, you can see we have a pretty good copy. Good. So make sure the copy is active. Get your move tool and move it on the side so you can see what's going on. And just like the previous effects, get your marquee tool again, zoom in, and make a selection something like this, maybe a little bit bigger. Good. Then get your move tool and then you can move it on top like this. So now and to remove the selection, go to select and then deselect. Clear. So it's just repeating the same process. Align the every single line so it's easier to stretch. That looks pretty good. Now we can finally stretch it. So press Command T and then stretch it out as much as you can. Actually, not as much. I think this is more than enough. Hit enter. Looks terrible, I know, but let's make another copy of this one. So again, get your marquee tool and make a selection like this. Then just like the last time, right click and select layer via copy. Then get your move tool, and if you move it on the side, you can see we have a copy of that. And this is exactly what we need, so we don't need this layer anymore. You can just go and press delete and you should be okay. Then get your layer 3, and then now we can finally stretch it. So press Command T and then stretch it out from corner to corner. Just be careful that it doesn't go outside your canvas, otherwise your circle will not look accurate. So make sure it is corner to corner. And advise, for example, what if like a snapping is not happening or something happens and it goes like this and you make it bigger and you're like, Dhruval, how do I make it exactly the same size as the square? It's pretty easy. Just press Control. Make sure first of all that this layer is active, right? Just press Command A so the canvas is selected. Then again right click and make sure your selection tool is active. Sorry. And then right click and select layer via cut, and it will cut out your layer from that. See, if you move it around, it's exact same size as the square. So it's the same technique you can use million times again and again. So make sure this is on the top of your canvas before you apply the final filter. So it should look something like this, a square document, and your stretch should be on top aligned like this. Everything looks like this, then you need to flip it. Why? Because the portion that's on the top, it will be in center of your circle. So if we do filter right now, the socks, like they will be in the center, which we don't want because socks are on the outside. So before we apply the filter, press Command T to get your transform option, then right click and select flip vertical. So the socks are at the bottom and shorts are on the top, and then hit enter to confirm it. Now we are ready to apply the filter, the most fun part. So you can go to filter, then go to distort, and in the distort select polar coordinates, and it should look something like this. Make sure you select rectangular to polar and then OK, and there is your circular pixel stretch. Everything else now is just masking and decoration. That's it. So take the layer 4 and put it under your model so we can see what's going on. Then again press Command T and hold your Option and Shift key when you stretch it out, so it stretches from the center and it's easier to align it. So looking pretty good. I'm gonna take it on the side a little bit because I also want this hand to align at the edge. So keep it here and then confirm it. Looking excellent. Now we can do the masking, so we can remove the unnecessary area. For that, apply a layer mask on your stretch layer. So go and click on the layer mask, then get your brush tool. In the brush tool, right click and make sure hardness is 100% and make it a little bit smaller so you can go in like a small details. And the color here has to be complete black. Okay, now you can go and paint on the portions that you want to remove. So zoom in, take your time and remove the portions that are not needed. Now I'm going to show you how to do the background and shadows, and finally we will do the color correction. So first of all, let's do the background. I'm going to double click on it and unlock it, hit OK. I'm just going to apply a simple background so it's not something plain white. For that, double click on the layer 0 now, and here you can go and select gradient overlay, and in the gradient overlay, instead here I'm gonna go and make it linear in the style and keep the angle somewhere around here. Okay, so I want bright portion on the top. I'm just gonna reverse it. So now this is brighter and this is darker. Okay, looking good. Maybe I'll reduce the opacity a bit more. Okay, nice, and confirm it. So that's a simple fix for background so it doesn't look completely flat. Now let's add some shadows. First of all, let's do the shadow on the ground. For that, create new blank layer. Then go here and right click, select your elliptical marquee tool, and draw a circle like this. After that, make sure that you have black color here and get a bucket tool and fill it. Now let's remove the selection. So go to select and deselect. After that, let's blur it. So go to filter, blur, and select Gaussian blur. That's too much, obviously. So I'm gonna keep it somewhere around, yeah, 6 to 7 pixels. Hit OK. Now let's make it a bit bigger. So Command T, stretch it from the both sides until it looks pretty good. Confirm it. And now I'm going to reduce the opacity of the shadow so it blends in nicely. So already it has much more depth. Maybe we can bring it up a little bit. Good. Now let's do the context shadow of the model. To do that, activate the circle because we need the shadow to be in between model and the circle. So create a new blank layer, click on this icon. It should be between model and the circle, right? Let's rename it like a... Then right click on it and create a clipping mask. Why? So now if you get your brush tool and you paint any shadows, they will only stay on the circle and it won't go outside, which makes your life a lot easier. So right click and make sure hardness is 0, so we have really nice soft shadows. Now go and start painting softly so you have a really good contact shadow. Now I'm gonna go reduce the opacity, make it like 40 or 50. So if I turn it on and off, as you can see, it adds a lot of depth. And if you want to make it even softer, you can just go to filter, blur, and apply some Gaussian blur, so it's much more soft. So let's go and see. Yep, looking much better. All the shadows are done now, and we can finally do the color correction. Now this completely depends up to you, like how you want your colors to look like. For me, this is little bit darker, the middle portion here. For that, I'm gonna go to adjustments and select curves, and in the curves I'm gonna make a dot here, and lift it up and lift up the shadows a bit. So I think this looks perfect. If you're confused what to do here, just make a dot at the bottom portion here, lift it up and down, and see how it works. After that, I'm gonna make it a bit more colorful and contrasty. Not contrasty in a sense like light or shadows, but punch the colors. So in your adjustments, go and select vibrance, and increase the vibrance as much as you want. So I think 60-ish looks good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. After that, I wasn't happy with how the orange was looking in this photo. The colors were not blending as nicely as I wanted. So I applied a new adjustment layer and selected hue and saturation. And here in the master, first of all go to reds, and in the reds, change the hue until you get the desired color. Don't worry about the skin, I'm gonna show you how to fix it. Just go and focus on color of socks and select the one that you like the most. So I think this one looks pretty good. Then close it. After that, activate your layer mask, make sure it is active, then press Command I. All the colors are still there, they're just hidden. So now we get your brush tool and take white color this time because we want to bring back color in the socks. So you right click, make sure hardness is 0%, and then you can just paint on top of the socks until you get back the colors where you want. And for some reason, if you paint too much by mistake, you can just change back to black color and erase it like this. See, easy peasy, not that difficult. Now you can just go back and change any settings that you want, and it will only affect the sock color, which is very convenient. So that's it. This is the final output. We covered all three effects: the beginner friendly, the kind of difficult, the kind of complicated one, all three of them. And I hope that you found what you were looking for, and that you learned something from this. If you did, then hit that like button. If you have any questions, suggestions, or if you want to say anything, you can comment down below. And you can also subscribe to my channel, so every time I upload a new video, you will get an update. And you can hit the notification icon, so you also get notified every time I upload a new video. And thank you. No, just thank you for all of your support and patience, because I know this video was supposed to be out weeks ago. But I had some personal life issues which I needed to handle first. But after some struggle, finally everything seems to be going good and I'm able to make videos. So thanks for understanding. I will do my best to bring new content as soon as possible. See you soon. Until then, goodbye, take care, and have some fun with Photoshop.